Meet me after slashing your wrist, or at the end if you so insist. I'm persistent when told to cease and desist with this blasphemous shit.
Close Chalet, King Groomer is on GB fucking News, bruv. Talking about Prince Harry and Meghan. Oh my god, this is gonna be hilarious. Alright, let's see what I've gone. Yes, it's fucking cold. I've just come back in. And on my way in, I was attacked in the shop by some little, like, he looked about 6 years old. At first, I was waiting by the cashier and his dad was being served and that. And then he was spinning around and he hit me and knocked money out of my hand. So I dropped that. I went, picked it up. And I smiled. I didn't want him thinking, like, he'd done wrong or anything. But I don't know. After that, I just saw it in his face. He just lit up. And then he just started charging at me. He charged at me like 2-3 times. I had to call out to his dad. I was like, yo. And his dad, before he even looked around, his dad was like, sorry, he's got autism. I was like, it's cool, bro. I just obviously needed to make you aware. Like. So, yeah, I've got a bit of PTSD at the moment. But, yeah, let's see what Mr. Andrew's got to say. Buckle up. Why the fuck have they invited him? Is it because he's mixed race? It probably is, isn't it?
Tate, great to have you here. People are so terrified when talking about Harry and Meghan because they're worried that they're going to be accused of racism. You're clearly not worried about that.
No, I'm not worried about that. I refuse to live in an absolute fantasy, and people are dodging around the true issue. I'm a person of color myself, but I don't think that's why I'm inspired to speak the truth.
So what's the true issue?
Racism is being used as a justification for the fact that she isn't liked by the majority of people is a cop-out. It's not the case. She does not garner any kind of racism in day-to-day life. She's less dark-skinned than me, and I certainly haven't suffered from any racism. So I don't think race has anything to do.
What the fuck? You gotta give it to these man. The fucking balls on them to stand there and just fuck over their own people. Whatever the community is. There's loads of them. I'm not just talking about black people. There's loads of them. Like, we've got a couple in this country. What the fuck did he just say? He just said because he personally hasn't experienced racism, so therefore she hasn't experienced racism. A, she is much fucking darker than you, but that's irrelevant. That's irrelevant. What the fuck? He said dodging the real issue. So I was waiting for it. What was the real issue? What's the reason they don't like her? What's the reason that she garners more hatred and animosity than his namesake? Just because she... Please, I can't even think of a reason. What reason? And you can't give me bollocks about Andrew's hated more than her. Really? Really? That paedophile was walking through the funeral? Oh, don't. That's Queen's funeral. That's his mum. Cool. What about the newspapers, though? They had a lot more to say about Meghan than they had to say about Andrew's, bro. So, please, elaborate. If it's not racism, what the fuck is it, bro? And what kind of moral compass, like, are we... like, this is... I wish we could just fucking own it. Because right now, as a country, Piers Morgan, fucking everybody, as a country, hates this girl. No one's given up an actual reason that justifies why she gets all the attention and Andrew just sits at home. I never hear Andrew's name unless he dares to... No one said fuck all at his funeral. And the one person that was brave enough to do it in the crowd got arrested. So please, in the comments, England, if we're not racist, what is it about a person that can make them so bad you find them more disagreeable than a PDF file? Please, I need to know this. Come on, Mr. Andrews. Racism doesn't exist.
With it, I think she's just a dislikable person and is trying to find another excuse for that, for people to treat her that way.
And this fits into one of your bigger narratives, doesn't it? Which is that you're very worried that men today seem to be embracing the idea of being victims. And you say that one of the reasons that you are a resilient human being is because you have lived through trauma, but that trauma actually propelled you to success rather than bringing you down to victimhood.
Yeah, the baseline of masculinity is that bad things are going to happen to you, and you're going to absorb them, and you're going to use them and to grow into a more competent individual. If you look at what society expects of men and what even females expect of men, they expect a man of competence, and
they expect a man that doesn't bitch as much. Fucking hell. For a man that's wealthy, successful, can have any woman he wants, he don't know fucking moan. And what the fuck has he been through? I haven't heard nothing. Not that it's up to me if he's been through something, but seriously, I've heard nothing about this dude apart from the bullshit that comes out of his mouth. So nothing to say he can be the arbiter of racism. Masculinity.
for you to be competent, you have to have lived through some things. To be good at being a man, you have to have had a hard life. If you look at any superhero, his life was hard. This is the reality of it. And I think that the demasculinization of men is...
Man said. I think he's just taking the piss now. He's got to be just taking the piss now. What can these muppets believe? What can my followers fucking suck up? He's talking about men losing their balls. And his reference was fucking superheroes. And then he said, that's the reality of it. No, bro. No. Superheroes are not real, bro. Fuck, has he got that much money? He could just live in the Marvel universe. Bruv. Is that him trying to appeal to all the little boys? What is he saying?
Genuine plague we are suffering with in the West. And Harry, in many ways, he's ended up a beacon for that. You know,
so you think he has been emasculated by Meghan?
To a degree, certainly. He certainly lost a lot of the respect of the people and the people who were fans of the royal family. They've certainly lost a lot of their respect, and Meghan has something to do with that. It's certainly the way she talks about the royal family as a whole, the way she talks to him and about him. There's certainly an element of people waiting for him to stand up and say, listen, that's the royal family. You can't talk that way. Or you decided to be with me. There were certain things you were expected to do. But he simply just allows her to demasculinize him in public, and everybody feels uncomfortable with it.
People also feel uncomfortable now to have conversations.
If the Daily Mail's anything to go by, and I know he's a staunch mailer, they'll report on the same thing about the two princesses in completely different ways. They'll paint, I've forgotten her name. They'll paint Kate to be absolutely perfect, an angel, and then they'll make Meghan to be the complete antithesis for the exact same things. Like, if Kate holds her belly, it's gorgeous. She's comforting the future prince. If Meghan holds her belly, she's bragging. Same with clothes. Showing off if it's Meghan, elegant if it's Kate. So please elaborate. Where is this difference? What has Meghan done that overrides Andrew and that overrides Harry's fucking military service? Talk about serving this country. Man is actually a veteran. Man was flying things in the war, bruv. Not like out in the outskirts and talking, just wearing the uniform. You see the clip of him like in the interview, and then his man them get called. Man shot off, bruv. So what has Meghan done that overrides the pride we have for our veterans? Even aside from the royal, we're meant to have pure pride in our veterans. What has she done that can make you forget about that?
His duty was very clear to say.
It wasn't done in the wrong way, but it was just...
Please elaborate. As far as it's obvious, like, and I need to keep saying it because he keeps saying the same bullshit, but he considers someone being emasculated as someone who respects his woman. Literally. If he listens to her, he's been emasculated. That is it. That's the line. That is the line. Okay.
Conversations about race because it's so easy for the MSM to accuse you of racism. Now, I grew up believing in a colourblind world, and that's what I was told at school, that we shouldn't actually obsess about someone's race. Now, if you sign up to that philosophy, you're described as being racist. And it feels to me like Meghan has really utilised that.
Well, there are certain buzzwords. There are certain words you can hide behind in modern society which people are not allowed to challenge. And it allows you to have ideas inside of a vacuum where you can develop these narratives that are never directly contested. And racism's one of them. You're completely right. People can just cry racist and you're not allowed to challenge the idea. And I stand up and say,
I don't know what this mythical land is that all these people describe, but I have never seen it. Everyone talks about cancel culture and all of this and blah, blah, blah. Who has lost their career for being racist towards black people? Oh, wait. I don't mean lost a week's wages and weren't on our television screens for a week because they slipped on air. Who has ever lost their career for being racist? I'll give you a clue. So, what do you mean you can just call racist? And when in the history of racism has anyone accepted people that argue against racism? All right, cool. You're allowed to disagree with something. Cool. But when in the history of racism has anything racist been acknowledged as racist? Do you know the only way it ever gets accepted as racist is if you stand in someone's face and shout nigger? And even then, people will say, you know, he was just joking. He's that kind of person. He likes a joke. It's not, people are so sensitive. So how does racism work to benefit black people? If we claim something's racist at work, more than likely we're the ones that are going to lose our job. We may not necessarily get fired, but we'll be seen as the troublemaker. So more often than not, we just ride it out. We just ride it out. Because everyone's going to contest it. Regardless whether they were in the situation or not. That is the biggest one. If you're white, please explain why this happened. But when someone's talking to you and describing something that was racist, why do you get so defensive? As if you are being blamed. Like, I have a theory for this, right? And the theory is this. Do you know, like, all the negative stereotypes around black people that have been invented by racist white people in order to keep us below in the common man's eye, to make slavery easier, to make segregation easier, more palatable? You got to justify this by saying they're dirty, they're uneducated, they're criminals, they're rapists. A little bit like what Trump was doing with the whole border bullshit. It's the same sort of, you dehumanize people, then whatever you happen to do to them, it's kind of justified in the people's eyes, of course. Where we have these stereotypes so ingrained in us about certain communities, I feel like white people have a bit of reverse stereotyping. Where a black person does a crime, and pretty much the whole black community around the world is held accountable and judged upon one person's actions. So, like, because you judge everyone, you're also judging yourselves or thinking you're being judged. Therefore, you seem to get hostile instantly and defensive instantly. When we're talking about Jeff, it's got nothing to do with you, bro. But if I can't tell you that he's being racist without you getting upset, where is this consequence he's talking about? He's hilarious. He's like, fuck it. And there's a certain fragrance, a smell of disdain that pours off of him when he's referring to black people. He says that he's mixed race, and I know he's obviously mixed race. But I don't think... How do I word this? I think he's got a lot of mummy issues stemming from essentially being abandoned by his dad as far as he's concerned. So I feel he's got a lot of disassociation. And plus, this whole grift is about, if you demonize people, you make money. If you demonize black people, you make money. If you demonize, especially if you're part of that community, you're getting the big bucks. If you demonize gay people, you get money. If you fight against these people, you get abuse. I don't know what this guy's talking about.
I do not think that the problems with the public perception of Meghan have anything to do with her skin color whatsoever, especially the fact that she isn't even particularly dark. I find it very strange. A lot of the people who are standing up for her, I've seen many liberals.
See what I'm saying about the disassociation? He keeps talking about her complexion. What's that got to do with anything? He's led a different kind of life to make statements like that.
Black liberals from all around the world who are standing up for her, saying the race card, the race card. Why would you allow somebody to use the race card when they're not genuinely suffering from it? Doesn't that disrespect all the people who actually suffer from genuine racism?
Well, I think it does.
So do I.
Because there are so many contradictions in that Netflix series, because Meghan actually says the only time she ever experienced racism was someone in LA calling her mum, who actually does have much darker skin than her, the N-word. But actually, Meghan said she had experienced no racism herself, yet she enters the royal family, and all of a sudden it helps her victim narrative to suggest that she's been a victim of racism. And actually, if you saw her wedding, I mean, the British public completely embraced her.
Well, if the British public had a problem with race, I don't understand how we have a prime minister who's darker skinned than her, a mayor of London who's darker skinned than her. It doesn't even make sense on any level. I would state that England is one of the least racist nations on the planet.
We've got a prime minister who we didn't vote for in the dominant party, who is considerably more right-wing than you, bro. And as for the mayor, London, arguably the most multicultural city in Europe. Step outside of London, fucking hell, it's a black guy. You're one of the good ones, isn't you?
And this is one of the things that's kind of detrimental. The people who are obsessed with race and obsessed with racism, constantly calling it out, they in many ways speak it into existence, because most of us, like you said, like yourself, like myself, we don't see color. We treat people with respect, and if somebody's a likable person, they're a likable person, and if they're a dislikable person...
Most of us. Do you remember all the racist abuse and all the trolling Harry got for missing the penalty that got us kicked out of the World Cup? No, sorry, I didn't mean Harry. I meant the Euros and the 3 black players. And I mean the World Cup with the French black players. You treat us with respect as long as we serve you with pride. Darker people are the only people you hold to that level of accountability. And they still haven't explained why everybody hates her.
They're a dislikable person, and their color has very little to do with it. It's just kind of ironic that nobody else wants to stand up and point out the glaringly obvious, that nobody looks at her and thinks, wow, look how dark-skinned you are. So it's kind of incredible that this is the angle she's going down, and nobody...
That last statement actually stunned me. That was the whitest explanation for no racism I've ever heard come out of a dark person. He kept referring to her shade. Growing up, the only benefit I had really over black people with regards to racism was everyone else's mums, the white mums, were more likely to think I was adorable. That was it. It's only been the last year or so I've started to notice attacks on me, social media attacks on me. I've started to notice that people have started to acknowledge the fact I am fucking half white. But the problem is, whenever you talk about race as a mixed race person, that half white shit's gone. People, like, if I say, someone calls me nigger, and I say, this person called me nigger, how bad was that? People tell me I'm attacking half of my heritage. Fucking weird. Anyway, next time, Mr. Andrews.